How's it going, everybody? Um, Welcome back to another Emerald City Hockey Post Game Live presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall, an establishment that I imagine is probably coming in pretty handy for Seattle Kraken fans tonight. This was a brutal game, no way around it. Obviously, anytime you lose 7-2, it's not good. And then, you give up 3 goals in the first not even 4 minutes of the game. Chase Grubauer right away, just having to play catch up the entire time. Just watching the broadcast evolve into just a Connor McDavid love fest. I'm struggling to find two positives for the Kraken beyond the fact that really until the second half of the third period. The Kraken were still out there. They were giving it their all. They were really trying. They were trying to get back in the game. Thought they actually played a pretty strong second period. Those are things we've talked about that before with the Seattle Kraken. It's something we're all very proud of, being Kraken fans, proud of the fact that the team does that. But as a whole, this game is one I imagine most of us would want to forget, but at the same time, the fact that a lot of the same problems were popping up for them means it's going to be hard to, because we just talked about a lot of the same stuff. I'm sure that there are comments about tonight were comments after that Flames game a couple days ago. So it's I don't know. It's something. At least we're all here together. We can all talk about it and hopefully walk away feeling at least a little better, or maybe not as worse as maybe we're feeling right now, or we were certainly at the beginning of this game, because that was a brutal way to start the game, not gonna lie. Coming on over here to the chat, Hunter, I've been saying this the last couple post games. The defense is soft as hell, absolutely useless out there. Got to agree with you. All three of those first goals for Edmonton, just there is no defense. It doesn't exist. They're not there at all. Whether it's Carson Soucy taking a penalty and putting this all-time great power play. This power play is literally one of the best. It is the best power play since 1977. Okay, and you're gonna, in the first minute or so of the game, take a penalty and just stick them on the power play. Like, you can't do that at all. Like, that's the one absolute should not do. I don't know why you're doing that. So Carson Soucy takes another penalty there, and it just it starts that snowball right away, because you have to go onto the PK. You can't really get things started, build any momentum for yourself. It's this amazing power play for the Oilers that they have. They immediately kick things off. We all know the story. I don't need to totally replay it for you all. But that was an issue, and then obviously defense on that. Adam Larson doing his kind of what's become regular for him, which is playing too far up on the PK. He needs to be hanging around closer to the net in that situation and handle Zach Hyman there. Like, there's no way around that. That is something Adam Larson has to do in that situation. Later on, you just get more defensive miscues, more guys. Yes, Puljujarvi was just like wide open there net front. The defense is a huge problem for the Seattle Kraken, and I do not know how it's fixed other than these guys just playing better. Like, you just got to play better, and they're just not, and it doesn't seem like that message is getting to them either. It's I'm right there with you, Hunter. It's frustrating. It is very, very frustrating. Scroll down here. Got a super chat here from Becca. Thank you so much, Becca. I really appreciate that. Gonna look at this new feature we got. Can throw up the super chats there. Thank you so much, Becca, for that. Let's see. No message there, Becca. Let me see. Got one down here. Stars done. Maddie Sprong. Sprong played a really strong game. Again, gets that scoring. He just finds a way. I don't know what it is, whether it's goaltenders having a hard time reading the shots coming off his stick, because that's a pretty obvious shooting situation there. But just able to squeak it under Stuart Skinner's arm there. Happy for him. Done. That fight really got the Kraken back into it. That was a big time fight. He teched that guy. That That was awesome. Go ahead, load in a chat thing there if you want, Becca. I'll read it here in a sec. Um, and just that was huge. It helped build momentum for the Kraken there in the second period. Really, really appreciated that from Vince Dunn and Matty. I mean, Matty, he's doing the good stuff. He's playing that two-way game. He's being that kind of center that we knew and want him to be. But at the same time, like get back on the score sheet, man. Like it's gonna be hard to win the Calder when he just can't seem to pick up a point right now. And the top six as a whole for the Kraken, we talked about this last game. At some point, the top six has to start scoring. You can't rely on your defensemen to score all the goals for you and the depth. Your bottom six, your fourth line is generating all this offense for you. Like that's the stuff that is supposed to put you over the top and make you a top team. That's not the stuff that you should be relying on night in, night out. And right now, the team is relying on that fourth line to get the goals for them. They are relying on defensemen to step up and to help generate offense, much like Adam Larson did on the Brandon Tanev goal. And it's not sustainable. You're not going to be an above 500 team if that's what you're relying on. And unfortunately, that's what they're relying on right now. Austin definitely need to add a great defender and PKer at the deadline. Again, the defense needs work. Nobody will deny that at all. The deadline thing is where things are going to get interesting because the only teams that should be shelling out future assets, whether it's young players or draft picks or whatever it is, for players at a deadline are teams with a realistic chance of making a run. I don't believe, certainly not after watching these last two games, that one defenseman is the difference between this team being a Stanley Cup contender or not. Like, yes, maybe that addition gets you to the playoffs, but is it worth giving up a future asset to just get to the playoffs this year when the rest of the team is not suited for it? It's not going to go anywhere, that playoff run. Because, like I said, if you're not getting top six scoring, one defenseman can only play so many minutes a night for you. I just think this is this off season, there has to be a massive overhaul of your defensive core. Like we're talking 3 names maybe need to be swapped out, and things need to be changed around. But I don't think realistically it's in the best interest of the Kraken, and I don't think that it'll make enough of a difference to just go pick up somebody at the deadline. As unfortunate as that is, I just think they're a year out from being a deadline team. Let's see, Becca, we need to burn the reverse retros and ban ESPN. I mean, it kills me. I put out that tweet. I don't know if anybody saw it. I know the ECH account, we retweeted it there. But just like 1,000 crying emojis because these reverse retros, every time I see them, they grow on me. They are fantastic. They are beautiful. Oh, I love seeing all the fans wearing them in the stands, but these things are cursed. There's no way around it, right? One time it could be a fluke. Twice it's like maybe there's something there. 3 times it's not coincidence anymore, right? It's not coincidence. Oh my gosh, these reverse retros are killing us. Absolutely. Sean, that was brutal, except Dunn or Kraken that dude. That was a fantastic fight. Dunn is really good at that stuff. He's legit good at that. He's a good brawler. Good on him. Kyle, I propose a new defensive system where 1D has no responsibility other than staying net front. Also, WTF was Schultz doing in the far corner with an Oiler 3 feet from Jones? I mean, you could say that about a couple Kraken defensemen tonight. You can say that about a couple Kraken defensemen last game, and probably the game before that too. Kyle, that is technically what defensive systems are supposed to be. It's always supposed to be one defender goes off to make the play, to go below the goal line, try to win a puck battle, try to get the puck out, and the other guy stays home. You want to protect your goaltender. You want to protect the net front. The Kraken have just decided that that's not what they want to do, and I don't know. I just don't get it because, call out Schultz there. Like I said, call out Larson on that first power play goal. A lot of guys need to be called out, and we've been calling them out. It just keeps happening. It's really frustrating. Hunter, everyone related to our power play and PK should be fired into the sun. Can't score on the power play, can't stop anyone on the PK. I don't even know what the numbers are tonight for both of those, but I know they're bad. Now you could at least excuse the PK maybe in this game, just because, like I said, they're facing the best power play unit since the 70s. But I don't think that that's we know that this is a problem well beyond when they're just playing the Edmonton Oilers. So this was something that we talked about last season. I mean, I remember throughout a lot of last season, and a lot of it was, you know what, it's year one. The whole situation was really bad all the way around. Let's give the assistant coaches another year. But I think, yeah, at this point, whether you're looking at a Paul McFarland with the power play or Jay Leach with the PK, I mean, it's not working. Neither of them are working. It's been 2 years now. The roster has had significant additions to kind of help both areas. Still hasn't helped. So I do think that, potential coaching changes over this offseason. That's where I think you could see assistants rotated out because of the special teams performance. I agree with that. Absurdly saying, I honestly didn't expect this game to be this bad. What happened? Kraken, and again, this was a last season problem. We're not ready for this game. And I do think a lot of it, like I was talking about earlier, was just that Carson Soucy penalty just kickstarted something that they were not prepared to stop, because you never want to take a penalty that fast, pardon me, into a game. And so then you send the other team to a power play that's already bad. It's this excellent power play, and it's just all snowballs from there. And then you just continue with the defensive lapses. The fact that you're just going to continue to leave Philip Grubauer hung out to dry with nobody there to help him. The defense was just horrendous in this one, especially in those first 4 minutes. And that's all there is to it. I mean, it was just that bad. They just were not there to play hockey. I don't know what it was. Yikes. Still more wide open guys. Net front from Coop. Exactly. Hunter, shuffle the defensive pairs or at least give Fleury a shot. I am tired of Hackstall's antics. I agree. At some point, I mean, something needs to happen. We talked about this last time. They don't shuffle the pairs because I don't know what you would do. I don't know. I can't think of a combination that would be better than what's out there. But obviously what's out there is not working. So something needs to happen, but I just don't know what that something should be. I do think that, maybe it is time that Carson Soucy gets sat for a little while, just because he's not playing fantastic when he's in, and then when he's on the ice, and then when he's not on the ice, it tends to be because he's in the penalty box and he's killing the team because he's taking penalties that realistically don't need to be taken. Like, these aren't all like, oh my gosh, there's guys on breakaways and he's taking a penalty to save on what would be an automatic goal. That's not what Carson Soucy's doing right now. So yeah, I think you could realistically sit Carson Soucy and bring in Fleury, try to send a message, try to shake things up that way. It is something I would consider if I was Dave Hackstall. Oilers outclassed the Kraken tonight from Stu. I mean, and McJesus strikes again. I mean, he does. That dude is unfreaking believable. I understand why Espen spent so much time talking about him. He is doing something right now that is, in some ways I do feel very fortunate to be able to watch him play in his prime. But at the same time, dude, save it for someone else. Save it when you're playing somebody else, please. Becca, it has been 0 days since the Soucy penalty. I know. It's brutal. That guy is brutal right now. That's what I'm saying. I think that's maybe where you can shuffle him out. Aaron, second time in 8 days, the Kraken allow a 5-point night. Oh, you're right, though. You're right, though. That is, wow. Has any team ever done that before? Since the 80s when everyone was scoring like crazy? Jeez. Edward, here to leave my obligatory like. I recommend you all give the stream a like as well. Yes, thanks. Let's like the stream, get more people in here. We can all discuss and help each other out. Alex with the oof. I am for sure, man. Joey, we look horrible tonight. I know. Leanne, I'm sad. I'm sad too. Dylan, where's your mom? My mom is far away from this game. Good for her. No, yeah, she Not here for this one. Time for ECH to drown our sorrows at Queen Anne. I'm telling you, Queen Anne. I got to think a lot of people enjoy it responsibly, right? Be responsible if you're gonna go there to help ease anything that you got left over from this game. Please do it responsibly and make good choices, all that stuff. But yeah, that's one of the reasons they're there, right? Um, and tell them we sent you, please. It does help us out. Man, that was a long sigh, Dylan. I know I could go longer too. I didn't want everyone to have to sit by that. Light. If I had to find one silver lining, Light is generally pretty good at this. So let's all listen. Not from this game, but for the team. It's that the future of the team is looking bright with how the Firebirds are looking. I mean, Firebirds are really looking well. They're playing really well. And other stuff. I mean, Shane Wright's killing it at the World Juniors. Had the prospect live chat for the Patreons last night, and I went over some stuff that Shane Wright's been doing. Maybe I'll clip some of it and make a YouTube short. But the stuff he's been doing at the World Juniors is really, really impressive. And it's stuff the Kraken can be using. I mean, they could use it right now. I don't know that he'll be able to get it done at the NHL level this year, but moving forward, I mean, Shane Wright is showing me things that are going to really help take this team to the next level in the future. I'm really, really excited by that. Kraken were 60% on the faceoff in that first period, Dylan. I know, and they were 55% for the game. B. Woolley knows what's up. We were too good on the faceoff dot, and it came back to bite us. It's the only explanation. Let's see. Stu, the Queen Anne Beer Hall rocks, by the way. Had a blast there a couple weeks back. I know. I'm so pumped to get up there. Just a couple weeks, everybody. My flight goes up there on the 13th. Gonna be there on the 14th for that watch party. It's gonna be so much fun. Ty, oh boy, Dylan. I don't think you can save even this one. Yeah, I think we're doing all right. 70 people in here. Thanks everybody for joining after a game like this. I know it could be rough, but I mean, I don't know how you're doing, Ty. You had to be in the building for this one. Our double negative of having Ty in the building with the reverse retros did not equal a positive. It did not at all. It was super negative, double negative. It was just true double negative. Team went right back to losing the game in the first 10 minutes, just like last year in this one. Agree, this was very reminiscent of last season. Team just not ready to play at the beginning of the game, and then you just dig yourself a hole that you can't ever get back out of. Very frustrating. Flames game wasn't the same. This hurts. I know it was a little nicer than that last one, but some of the same problems are there. This team needs to take a long look in the mirror, especially Hackstall. So I knew that the Hackstall thing was going to pop up here. Dexter's the one bringing it up. It's an interesting idea of how much of this is Hackstall versus the players. I still feel like a lot of this is stuff I would give the players. We even heard from Hackstall a little bit, like media availabilities, like he's kind of putting this on the players at some point, because I feel like him and the coaching staff, I mean, what's wrong at like defensively, right, is very obvious. I've been pointing it out. RJ's been pointing it out. Many of you have been pointing it out in the comment section. The coaching staff is communicating to the players what needs to change, and it's not changing. And at some point, you either say, okay, Hackstall isn't the right person to be delivering this message. The players aren't listening to him, so you replace him for that reason. Or at some point you go, okay, this isn't a coaching problem. This is a player problem, and we need to replace the players. And I think ultimately this is probably leaning in the direction of this being a player problem. And I think this offseason we're going to see replacement of players on that back end because of it. But I don't know that this is a Hackstall issue unless you truly believe Hackstall has lost the room and anything he's saying isn't being taken in by this team. But the fact that this team stayed and battled and fought and had the second period that they had tells me that they're probably still listening to their coach. A team that's given up on their coach, that a coach that's lost the room, you don't see that level of fight and determination from a team like they showed tonight and really like they've showed all season. So that's why I understand the criticism for Hackstall, especially maybe when it comes to not shuffling the D pairs. But I don't think this is a coaching problem. I really do truly believe this is a player problem. Brian with the super chat down here. Let me scroll on down. Thank you so much, Brian. There are positives from tonight. 1, it only counts as 1 loss. That is true. 2, Kraken radio is really good. 3, Donato geeky sprawl goal. 4, like this. I liked the stream. Well, thank you for the super chat, Brian. Thank you for the like of the stream. telling you, that fourth line is unbelievable. I don't know. I mean, maybe we just play the fourth line more. I don't know if that's the solution, if it's all just the stuff. I mean, we did tonight. Daniel Sprong, 1748. That's second on the team amongst forwards in ice time for Daniel Sprong tonight, behind only Jaden Schwartz, who did play a good game. He was out there, throw the body around, trying to get things going there. I'm looking for where's Geeky on here. Geeky again, only 12 minutes. Geeky always kind of lags behind, but Morgan Geeky plays fantastic, especially considering he gets so much shorthanded time. I don't know where all this ice time, why isn't Morgan Geeky playing more? I will say that. And then, so they are starting to lean into hey, Daniel Sprong's one of the only guys that can grab us a goal. Ryan Donato with a very respectable 13:41. I mean, that's it's on the lower half for the team, but that's still a very respectable time on ice for a guy like Ryan Donato. He wouldn't be getting that somewhere else. So they're trying to lean on them, like I said, but at some point, you can't do that forever. You can't lean on your fourth line. You know what I mean? You just can't. Jules with the super chat. Good to see you, Jules. It feels like it's been a minute. Hope everything's been well. Thank you for the super chat. I know at the start of the season, I said my goal was for the Kraken to be 5th in the Pacific Division. Last year, we were at the bottom of the Pacific. I mean, that's kind of what, we were all over here at ECH we're talking about, was an increase, be better than the Sharks, the Ducks, the teams that were obvious. Maybe Vancouver, if you can swing it, that would be cool, and just show that hey, you're getting better. Show that those steps are coming in the right direction, and you know what, hang in the playoff race as much as possible. If we can talk into February about the playoffs and being on that bubble, hey, that's awesome. It's just the team played so well through November that I was feeling like, what, this team is really solid. They are playing good hockey. They can do this. And then it's just fallen off the rails so completely this month. Hopefully the change of the month, things swing back the other way. I really do feel like if they just tighten things up defensively, there's no reason for this not to turn around, or to at least stay a 500 team with, if they had been able to do that through December, then the lead they had built over November, probably it might have even been enough. Now things are very much in doubt. They're fortunate that they have games in hand on everybody, but if you're going to play these games in hand like tonight or like against the Flames, it doesn't mean too much. All right, so lots of chats in here, so I'm going to start bouncing around. Again, if I skip over something you said earlier, just repost it at the bottom. Let's see. Oh man, it's jumping all over on me here as I'm just trying to get in here. Chris Woodoggy, that was a smelly one. Nothing to add. Cheers all. Cheers, Chris. Have a good rest of your night. This team is on a horrible slide right now from Joey. I mean, this feels as bad as some of those last season when it was almost historically bad losing streaks, 12 in a row or whatever that we had to go through. It feels almost worse because we know the team could be good. Last year it was okay, well, the team's just bad. So it's kind of par for the course. And now it just feels so much worse when they're just on a 4-game slide, because they're just oh, it's right there to be able to turn it around. It's right there. The forwards were incredibly slow on the back check in the first 2. Agreed. They were not ready to face this Edmonton team and what they were able to do. And it's, I guess a good thing Leon Draisaitl had to miss this one. This could have been ugly if he was in there. I don't know. Daniel completely lackluster team from the start. Haxtell has to go. The team mentioned having a fire to win. Where was the fire after 4-0 after the first? Was your fire energy was to not make the playoffs? I think that the fire was there. I really do. I think in the second period, you get that Vince Dunn fight, you get some goals. I think even towards the end of the first, they were there trying to build some momentum to carry forward into the second. I think they were successful in doing that. I think the one thing that we have all been able to say this season is that they have not lacked, competitive fire and push. And no matter what the score was, they've stayed competitive until, just about the very end. So I don't know. That's why I say it's more of a player problem than a coaching problem, because I can't imagine any team that's given up on their coach when a team gives up on their coach, that is the worst. That means the team culture is at an all-time low. It is just in the swamps. There is no getting out of that other than to fire the coach and move on. And the fact that this team tries to fight and get back in games like this one tonight tells me that the team culture is not at a low. It is not just at this in this bottomless pit of despair. And that's why I lean towards this being a player problem, not a Hackstall problem. That being said, at some point here, if this trend continues, front office has to do something to send a message to the guys. One of those things could be firing the coach. It could also just be that we see a trade, right? They just say, hey, you know what? This isn't working. Carson Soucy, you're gone. Or Will Borgen, you're gone. Or whoever it is, right? And so I do think that if we see this trend continue into the new year, the front office is going to make a move. I would lean towards it being a trade rather than a coach firing. But, if this turns into like a 10-game losing streak, that might be what it comes to. Stratic, pulling Grew was the right call, but I hope people understand it wasn't his fault. The goals on him were ridiculous, wide open looks. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for saying that, Striatic. This game was absolutely not on Grew at all. It was just terrible. Absolutely terrible what the defense was putting him through. Therapy dog scoy, please. I'll grab her in a sec, Alex. She's snuggled up on her bed there. Let's see. Edward, so Ty is forbidden from attending any future reverse retro games. Yes. I'll let everybody else suss that out with Ty. I'm not going to be the ultimate decider, but it might be a good idea, something to consider. 9, I'm starting to wonder about the competency of our coaching staff. Before we're peewees, even we're all taught not to let the other team stand in front of our net unmarked. WTF. I'm telling you, the coaching staff has communicated this idea to them. It's on the players. This is not the coaching staff. Let's see. Some more stuff about the defense. I feel like we talked about that a good little bit here. Tammy just leaving the game. Oi, it was painful. I can imagine. Good on you for sticking it out, Tammy. Have a safe trip home. Dexter asking the question of have the players stop responding to Hackstall. I think I've made that clear so far, but I do think that I understand why that question would be asked for sure. Larson and Alexiak are miscast in their roles. What is this? Top guys on the PK? Yeah, they probably are. Kraken Hawk. I was at the game. Kraken stank from Space Needle Lounge, or the Kraken stash from the Space Needle Lounge helped to alleviate the pain from the piss poor performance of the Kraken tonight onto the Islanders. I saw a couple people tweeting about going to the Spirits a little bit there to help out during this game. And I very much understand that. I really, really do. The depth players like Sprong and Tanev and Geeky and Donato, etc., didn't give up. But what is going on with the top 6 lately from Stratic? Well, they shuffled things around a little bit in this one to try to get things going. But yes, the top 6 is a problem. Matty Beniers has not gone a point in, I don't specifically know how long, but it feels like a very, very, very long time. Andre Burakovsky, cold as ice, not in like a fun, like, oh man, he's got a, ice in his veins. He's torching guys. No, Burakovsky is just cold. Schwartz, he's playing really, really well, but I'd like to see him maybe get on the scoreboard a little bit more. I know he's not the top 6, but Brandon Tanev, I've never seen a player get so many breakaways and not be able to score on literally any of them. It's rough there. Yanni Gord, I feel like he hasn't scored in a long time. Like, there's just a lot of guys on this roster as you start looking at it that you're just like, when was the last time I saw this person score? Jared McCann had been on an absolute heater, and then just like that, it's gone, all the fire. Like, they need to shuffle up those pairings again better. I don't know what it needs to switch to. And then I don't know, maybe just change up the system, try dump and chase just to mentally reset everybody. It's not ideal. It's not going to lead to a lot of offense, but if it can kickstart 1 or 2 guys, then maybe that can have a trickle down effect for everybody else. I don't know. It's a tough one. Coaching staff has their work cut out for them. And with all these games, every other day for the next month or so, it's going to be really, really difficult to do that. Let's see. Ty, I may have more power than I ever imagined. Dude, it's getting next level, Ty. I'm not gonna lie. Becca, right after Spronger's goal, I saw him make a great check. Good to see him bring more than points. Agreed. I mean, Spronger is there all the time. He's really trying to make things happen. Here she is. She knew she was needed. The dog Skoy here to help everybody out. I'll get you some treats in a sec, girl. Need to deal Eberle at the deadline, regardless of where they are, in my opinion. I mean, Eberle is another one. Like he was kind of doing all right there for a little while, and then things just cooled off and just nothing going on. Like I don't know. Something needs to get everybody started. I don't know that you could realistically deal Eberle at the deadline. I don't know who would want to take on the contract. You'd have to retain. You'd have to retain in the next season. I don't know that's in your best interest. But yeah, I mean things are rough there. Get some good treats in there. Let's see. Sarah, what do you think of the line shakeups in the third? That was super interesting to watch. I kind of just touched on those. I've wanted to see Maddie with Burakovsky for a while. I believe that was one of the things that happened there. Again, give us the killer bees. Give us Bjorkstrand, Maddie, and Burakovsky. Why the heck not? It's not like they can be any worse than they're playing right now, right? Like, let's go for it. Oh man, it's brutal. Right now, I don't believe this is a playoff team from Joey. So yes, beginning of the year when a lot of people were questioning, hey, is this team for real? Do you think this team can make the playoffs? What was my line? It was, if the team continues to play like this, they are a playoff team. Or right now, the team is playing like a playoff team. Right now, the team is not playing like a playoff team. I 1,000% agree with you, Joey. This team, if they continue to play the way that they have been playing these last couple games or this last couple weeks, really this last month, is not going to be a playoff team because they're losing games. They're just losing games. And I don't mean like, oh, they lost. I mean, they're actively causing themselves to lose games with just mistakes. And they're not even like questionable mistakes. These are basic fundamentals that they are getting wrong about how to do things. And then obviously special teams being such a huge problem for them is not helping the equation either. And that's definitely contributing. But yes, right now, this is not playing like a playoff team. And if they are not careful, they will not be a playoff team because of it. I really do believe that. And it's really unfortunate because they were playing like a playoff team. They really, really were. They just got to find a way to get back there. Stratic, first period was weird. Lately, the team has had consistency, but this didn't look like the real Kraken. Like they were overthinking what the Oilers were capable of and continually froze. I don't know if it was overthinking, underthinking, just not thinking, period. But wow, I mean, this is not. It was bad. They were just not there for it. And like I said, that early penalty was literally the worst thing you could have done. It was there was nothing worse than just being like, here, we're 2 minutes into the game. Here, let's send this all-time great power play to go to work and let them build momentum for this game. I mean, it was just absolutely brutal. No way around it. Let's see. Deal Eberle, Susie, and Wenberg from Hunter. Again, I could see a Susie on the way out. I mean, we know he was really close to being an Oiler last season. Very, very close. I don't know if right now what his market value would be. I mean, just the fact that he's a defenseman is nice and means he has value. But he isn't playing fantastic. He isn't playing well right now. We know that. I don't know what you could get for him. Wenberg, kind of a similar situation. I feel like Wenberg, you could probably deal him. Contract's okay if a team, was down a center, they need another, a middle six center. But at the same time, I mean, it's not like he's, riding any sort of point streak or great stuff right now. So I don't know what you get for him. And Eberle, I just kind of talked about. I don't know that a team would trade for him. Just kind of period. Let's see. Bazzi Peter Laviolette stated that Sprong should play in the top 6 for him to be successful, and why not just put him in the top 6? Well, going back to every season prior to this one, the reason not to put Sprong in the top 6 was because he never really showed, I'll say, consistent effort defensively. and through the neutral zone, and really even in the offensive zone at times, as far as getting open, trying to manipulate the defense, use the threat of his shot, all that kind of stuff. And we talked about that a lot last season or over the off season or even early in this season. But we know now definitively that Sprong has changed. He has worked on those things. He made that a point of emphasis over the course of this last offseason. And to his credit, he has vastly improved in all of that. And I do think at this point, he's capable of playing in a top 6 role. And like I said, he was second on the team in ice time amongst all forwards. Kraken functionally are using him in a top 6 role. So I think right now he is a top 6 player, and the Kraken are using him that way. I bet if we go back through and really looked at these last couple games, he would be out there in playing top 6 minutes. And he's been, good on the power play. They've been featuring him there as well. Let's see. Absurdly saying someone needs to put all their reverse retro jerseys into a pile and burn some sage around them or under them. Something needs to get done. I see RJ just popped in here. I'll add him in. See him laughing at that one. I got to imagine. You've been hearing a lot of that kind of stuff tonight, RJ.
Yeah. Hi, Dylan. Thanks for holding it down as long as you have. Something definitely interesting to join to that. Just to take all the reverse retro jerseys and burn some sage around them. Yeah. I did not dare ask anyone after the game if the jerseys are cursed. After that one, it's got to be tough. But
the question doesn't need to be asked. We all already know the answer.
That's true. We don't need Adam Larson's take on that, do we?
No. RJ. I just don't even know. RJ,
I can tell you. Yeah. Go ahead. I was
gonna say, what will it take to get a Kraken defenseman to hang out net front and maybe help out a goaltender? Like literally. Come on. What is it gonna take?
Yeah. I don't know what it's going to take. We talked with Adam Larson after the game, and there was, question about the net front defense, but he kind of generalized and be like, look, there were so many problems tonight. Basically he was asked questions about kind of specific elements of the game. There's one about Connor McDavid and you did a good job shutting him down in the past. What didn't work tonight? And he's like, a player like that, if you give him time and space, is going to make you look stupid. But, this was not about him tonight. It was just a 60-minute, he called it a 60-minute issue, which I would agree with.
Yeah.
I thought most interestingly was Dave Haxtell, because I think he didn't really know where to begin. Like the rest of us didn't really know where to begin. First off, I think the first question to him was, what do you say to your team after a game like that? And he said, I didn't talk to him tonight.
Yeah.
There's nothing constructive that can be gained from talking to them.
No. There was, so obviously lots of talk about Haxtell. I'm still in the camp of, I still feel like this is more of a player issue than a Haxtell issue. The question's been raised, has Haxtell lost the room? I think based on the effort they showed late in the first through the second period, generally when a coach loses the room, the overall team culture is just in this bottomless pit of despair. And you wouldn't see that kind of effort level from a team that is in that place to me. So that to me is another reason why I think it's a player issue. But your thoughts on that? You've kind of been, closer than any of us to the situation.
Right. Well, I don't think we're in lost the room territory. I'll start with that. But I will say, I think it's a bit of a concerning sign, because yesterday at practice, Dave Haxtell, and I mentioned this in my practice recap, but I should, say it for everyone. Dave Haxtell kind of laid down the gauntlet for his team. He said, we need to make a decision. This is an important part of our season. We need to make a decision. Do we stick with the level of play that's kind of gotten us to this point, or do we bring our game up to the next level? Because this time of year, that's what you have to do. And we need to decide, because the status quo is not going to be good enough for these remaining 49 games. He flat out said that. And it sounded like he was kind of trying to light a fire under the team, like he was looking for something more from them. And after the last few games before this one, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And, he was going out to the media and kind of laying it out there. And then when the team responds with this, I think you have to have a level of concern. And I understand, they fought back at the start of the second. You had Vince Dunn dropping the gloves. Tanev scores that goal, to get on the board right after that. It was a good moment. They didn't go away. And I agree with you there. But at a certain point, you have to show up ready to play the game. And especially when the coach is when the coaches kind of laid it out there for you that you guys need to play better. So I am a bit concerned about that. And of course, Hackstall seemed very unhappy with the team's effort tonight. And, he just talking about the net front defense. He was just kind of like, there's too much. Like, so, part of it is trying to, to get breakouts too fast. The other part is just ignoring guys in front. It's a lot of everything. But yeah, he was just, I think he basically narrowed it down to just, this was a problem of compete and willingness to check. The amount of times he said willingness to check from the top line to the bottom. And I think by check, he doesn't mean hit. I want to clarify that. I think by check, he means skate back, play a 200-foot game, and stay on your man. So that definition of check.
Yeah, I mean, the D was a problem, and the forwards didn't exactly help them out much either. That has traditionally been the key to shutting down a Connor McDavid, right? Is to get forward help back to kind of take away that middle ground. I mean, we saw tonight from him how dangerous he can be in that kind of middle ground between where he's too high up for the defense to really come after him, but he's going to be lower than traditionally a winger is going to want to play in the defensive zone. Lots of still focus on there in regards to kind of Hackstall and everything there. How much of this do you think was the team maybe not ready to start the game, kind of similar to what we saw from them last season, versus just taking a penalty 2 minutes in and putting this all-world power play out there to at the beginning of the game and just setting the ball, the ball rolling against you right away in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big factor. I mean, you take a penalty that early, and it's the kind of thing that just instantly replays in my mind, because Dave Hackstall, normally he'll talk at morning skate, and so we'll hear from him earlier. But today he talked at 5:30, so an hour and a half before the game. And so it was a short presser, only a couple questions, but one of them was talking about discipline and keeping the league's best power play, off of that man advantage. And he talked about, the fine line between having grit, having sandpaper in your game, and staying out of the box against this team. And immediately they're on the wrong side of that line. So, when that is a point of emphasis to be on the wrong side of it that early, I think it does have a tendency to snowball.
Yeah. And then last question before I go back to chat. The other thing that's been talked about, especially in regards to Hackstall potentially losing the room, potentially all that kind of stuff, or just the team being in a skid and just being in this place where they just cannot seem to win a game or at least not lose a game. It begs the question of, like, that's when the rumblings start coming back about potentially making a coaching change. Maybe it's a player change. I do think that if this trend continues for really much longer at all, the front office is going to do something. But I would think it would probably be a player moving out rather than a coaching change.
That's what I would think too. It's a lot easier to do that, and you look at the options available to teams, and normally, that coaching change doesn't happen without some kind of player move first. And maybe it even just starts with, putting Eeli Tolvanen in the lineup, just seeing what kind of spark he might be able to give you, even though, you've got the three guys you might scratch for him, Donato, Sprong, and Tanev, all scoring at really impressive rates. I thought the fourth line, the line blender came into play later, in this game, but I thought the fourth line and those guys played pretty well. And I do want to also mention, because Dave Hackstall, he singled out two players, Brandon Tanev and Yanni Gourde, as examples of the kind of work ethic this team needs. And I think that's also where you're getting into a situation where I don't want to call it like emergency situation, but when you have a coach singling out, look, these are the guys that work. The rest of the team needs to work like that. There's a bit of concern, but he was very clear. He said, I look at a couple guys like that. They worked their ass off tonight, and, they work, they compete, and, were they perfect? No, but just their willingness to do that is so important. I need that from everyone in the lineup.
Right. And I mean, we talked about it earlier. The top six has just disappeared completely. They just don't exist functionally, offensively at all. Can't remember the last time Matty Beniers got a point. Can't remember the last time, Burakovsky scored a goal. Like, it's ridiculous at this point. The level that they're not getting. And then you do see, I just a little while ago, I was addressing the idea of Daniel Sprong playing in a top six role. Daniel Sprong, second amongst forwards in ice time tonight. Like they are playing him in a top 6 role. Like functionally, he is the guy they're going to.
And tonight he earned it
with good reason. Yeah, he's been earning it now for weeks. Like he's right up there. I think Morgan Geeky's been earning it too. I'd like to see him not be, coming up at the end with the least amount of ice time. I think he needs to get some more.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Let me go back over in the chat. If you have something you wanna get off your chest real quick, go for it.
Sure. I'm sure you guys have talked about this already, but Philip Grubauer in the goaltending situation, I'm sure was something I saw a lot in the Twitter comments. I think we kind of made our opinions known that it's the defense on this one, but I do want to mention that Dave Haxtell basically agrees with that sentiment. The question was, I believe, after those first 2 goals, which kind of are clearly not Grubauer's fault.
Yeah.
Do you want to save on that third one? Do you need to get a save there on that third? And he said, look, yeah, I'd like to get a save there, but that's about the 4th thing I'm looking at on that play as far as reasons, the things that need to change there. So I think, pulling him that early, again, it's just more to give a jolt to the team than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it in the past. What is the highest percentage place to shoot from the ice? It's the slot, like the dead of the slot, and that's exactly where that third goal comes from. I mean, it is the hardest place for a goaltender to make a save, and then just the rest of the breakdowns that existed on that play to lead to that. It was definitely rough. Joey pointing out we've lost 8 of our last 10. It's a heck of a slide for the Kraken, especially this season. Man, things are just rough here. I would not change the 4th line at all. Only thing going consistent right now from Alex. I mean, just give them first line minutes. They deserve it. Nobody else kind of does.
Yeah, absolutely. They were the team's best line tonight.
Hopefully this blowout is a cold shower wake up call to get back on the right track, or right way of playing from JA. I mean, we've felt like that in situations before. It felt like maybe that Calgary game could have been that. Now this would be a very extreme example. I mean, how do you think the team is going to respond to this one?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but it starts tomorrow. Haxtell already mentioned, see you guys tomorrow, and that he was going to talk to them tomorrow. So I think, that's kind of where the wake up call has to happen. And, you'd like to see maybe the Flames game be that wake up call, but this one is something so extreme you can't ignore it. And sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes that for teams, especially, a team that's only in its 2nd year. These guys, haven't been together in the grand scheme of things for very long. Sometimes it takes a moment like this to get everyone serious and back on board. And when things are coming easy, like they did in November, it can be easy to kind of get away from that if you slip just a little bit. But Haxtell has talked multiple times about this time of year, things getting more difficult. You can't win with the same amount of effort that you used to. And it's challenge time again tomorrow. You got to answer the bell. And you know what? Looking at this team, though, they've got the leadership in the room. They've got the talent. We've seen what they can do. I'm confident that they can do it. They just have to go out and do it.
Yeah, they should be able to do it. And, look, whether it's certainly it gets, the example really works well with professional athletes, but for all of us in every aspect of life, we all have something that drives us, whatever thing that motivates us. And for a lot of people out there, being embarrassed can be that thing that kind of lights that fire and really motivates you. It's just to be a professional athlete, I feel like that's the worst thing that you could have be your motivational tool, because it can take a lot to embarrass you at that point. And it can often be too late that then that fire gets lit for you and gets you going. But I'm starting to feel like for a lot of this, or for at least this team as a whole, that tends to be what it is for them, is they have to really just really be falling apart before it finally starts clicking for them. And they have to hit that rock bottom before it gets going. And I just don't want it to have to be that way. Becca here with another super chat from Becca. Thank you very much. Been curious all season. What makes Wenny a 1 or 2C when he's playing well? What is he doing well? And why don't you go ahead and start us off while I get rid of this bot, RJ?
Okay, go for it. Well, I think above all, he is distributing the puck well when he's on his game. I mean, because that's ultimately what Wenberg is. He's a distributor, and he uses his line mates very well. He's good at getting himself into space, drawing people to him, and then opening up space for his line mates. I think he's can be pretty fast to the neutral zone when he's on his game. He can keep up with just about anybody when he's playing well, and then just the vision as well to make plays that other guys can't, to go to the right spots and kind of use the entirety, especially of the offensive zone. And then, of course, just being quietly really solid defensively.
Yeah, he's a really good two-way center. He's someone that I do feel like, because he gets himself into all of these fantastic opportunities because he is smart. He can read a defense well. He can get himself open, right? So just think of how many times we've all been frustrated with him passing up a shot for a pass, right? Because we feel like, oh, wow, he's in this fantastic place to score. That's because he's doing work to get there. Like, that doesn't magically happen for anybody. He's reading a defense. He's finding those gaps. He's getting himself open. He's sneaking behind them. And so that in and of itself is kind of showcasing, his greatest asset, and maybe, the thing that you'd like to change about him most of all are those plays. So I would use those to kind of point to everything that you were talking about. Lots more stuff still here. Like for example, Shushine team consistently not starting on time is a coaching issue. I'm having a really hard time with this one, RJ, because I don't know that they didn't start on time versus just that right away taking a penalty kind of messes you up. Like, because I don't think that that's a penalty that comes from you not starting on time. I just think that's a bad penalty to take.
Right. It's a bad penalty. But again, I think you can make the counter argument here in that knowing who took that penalty, that was Carson Soucy. Mm-hmm. It was an undisciplined penalty. When you can chalk things up to a pattern, and when you see a pattern, it starts to become a coaching issue, because part of coaching is identifying the patterns that are hurting your team and doing something to get in the way of them. And that's a pattern that Dave Haxtell kind of let derail things this season. And after that goal as well, I think another part of coaching is being able to stop negative momentum from happening, whether that's calling a timeout after maybe the second goal. I was thinking maybe, oh, that was like really bad. Maybe you want to call a timeout. He did the goalie switch after the third goal. But still, I just think that's part of it. It's not entirely coaching. At the end of the day, the players need to show up. I mean, that is number one, but I don't think you can take coaching out of it entirely.
Yeah, there's two things. One, I already called for. Cale Fleury should be starting for Carson Soucy next game. Like, absolutely. In my mind, this is something that just has to happen. The second thing is, do you think, just like we talked a lot about this last season with Jeremy Lauzon, right? And it was just like they were giving him minutes, they were giving him minutes, and then they flip him and get a great return at the trade deadline. Do you think at some point maybe that's the case with Carson Soucy? If you are seeing this pattern, and we're seeing this pattern just continue to repeat, like everyone has to be aware of it. Do you think that maybe that's something going on? Because I do think that if you're looking to make a move, I do think that Soucy is the avenue that you should be looking to make a move around. Yeah,
I mean, if the events of today follow their course into tomorrow and so forth, I think that is probably the move to make. It's tough, a tough decision always, because he's a pending UFA, and also you don't want to subtract from this team that's very much in the playoff hunt. It might even take, there's not really a hockey deal to be made, a 1-for-1 kind of swap, right. But it might take trading him for a draft pick and flipping that high draft pick for somebody else. It might be just kind of a indirect flip of rentals, but I could see that happening. And Carson Soucy would certainly have a ton of value on the trade market. If the Kraken basically have to make a decision by the trade deadline, if they're going to re-sign him or have to look at those options.
Right. I just don't think you're going to be able to get that same level of return if you make him a regular scratch. And that's
true.
That's where you find yourself in this kind of catch-22 if you want to kind of get him out of the lineup, but if you're also looking to move him, you can't take him out of the lineup.
It'd have to be like a one game, okay, he's taking a few bad penalties, we're sending a message, but he's still a regular type of thing.
Yeah. Just want to shout out Kevin Smith here with the "I'm just here so I don't get fined." Love that one. Let's see. We were overperforming in November. Were we overperforming in November, or are we underperforming in December? Can I just say yes?
I was gonna say both. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little column A, a little column B.
Yeah, I really do think it's that way. Why does Hackstall never use his timeout in tough moments? Shushan wants to know.
It beats me. Yeah, I mean the Kraken kept their timeout to the end of the game, right?
Yeah. Again, like this isn't a Hackstall only issue. This is an
No.
NHL coaching issue because they only have one. They feel like they need to protect it because there might always be some situation that is worse that I would more rather have it for. And it's like, no, you just use it. Like use it before it gets to this like critical mass red alert level. You know what I mean?
But you know what? Daryl Sutter used his early last game.
Yeah.
And it was a great move, and we saw what it did. So, I mean, Daryl Sutter can get with it. Maybe other coaches can.
I was going to say, how many Stanley Cups does Daryl Sutter have? How many Stanley Cups do the rest of these coaches around the league have? Just saying. Shout out for the end of December. I hope January looks more like November. Is the super chat here from Duthan. I'm gonna plug that one up on the
Oh, there we go. Nice.
You go, Duthan. I love that message. Thanks so much for the super chat there. Let's see. Where should we go next? Good to hear you've been doing well, Jules. There. Edward, points in the bank over games in hand for sure. I mean, we can't rely on the games in hand forever. And they need to bank those as much as possible. Lots of stuff about the double negative. Your thoughts on the reverse retros, RJ? I mean, you kind of gave a little bit at the beginning, I know, but like your opinion, because you kind of just talked about the overall feels around it earlier.
They look so nice. I like them. I want them to be good luck for this team. But man, they've had rough games. Whenever they've broken out the reverse retros, I've been grabbing those posters too. I want one to put up, behind, on set at home. But I want one from a positive memory type of game. I don't want to put tonight's up, and we all remember the 7-2 loss to the Oilers. So hopefully on the last one they're able to turn that around.
Yes. Let's see. Striatic asking, what did RJ think of the Kraken getting almost 40 shots but not being able to score more than a couple goals? How much of that was Skinner versus low shot quality from the Kraken?
I thought Skinner had a good game, and there were certainly moments where the Kraken could have taken momentum back. I think Skinner made timely saves. That's how I would describe it. But a lot of it, I think, was low shot quality, especially later in the game. I think they were just trying to throw pucks on net and see if anything worked. I was saying, I think I just turned to Charles next to me in the press bridge. I'm like, wow, the Kraken very quietly got near 40 shots toward the end of the game. So it certainly wasn't something I noticed.
Right. And again, if a team just kind of rolls over, they don't end up with 38 shots in a game like this. Like there is stuff there. To look at and maybe build off of. I agree. I mean, I don't know. You could maybe say that he should have had the Sprong goal back. Like that was kind of
that one probably kind of went through him.
But otherwise, I mean, he played a good game. Like nobody's gonna handle that Brandon Tanev thing. It's a redirect so you're not gonna be able to contain that rebound, and then nobody helps you out net front. Like he played an all right game. I think you
forget he's the Oilers starter now too.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely is. Like they were talking on the broadcast before the shot total kind of climbed up late in that third there. Edmonton was considering starting him tomorrow, like starting him today and tomorrow. But then they thought, the workload tonight probably means that isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Hunter wants to hear your thoughts on the woeful special teams, RJ. In case you didn't remember, Oilers 2 for 2 on the power play, Kraken 0 for 3 tonight.
Yeah, it's a problem. In 3 words, it's a problem. We'll start with the PK, I guess, being 0 for 2 in this one. I mean, the Oilers have a very good power play, but it's the same stuff we've been talking about. That net front, guy hanging out right at the post, right at the far post. Nobody's head on a swivel. Nobody going in to take care of him. They just need to reimagine the entire thing. I would love to see them do that at practice tomorrow. But I don't know. We'll see. And then as far as the power play, I think, what are they, 1 for their last 28?
Yeah,
I think the broadcast said that. Yeah. I mean, that speaks for itself, doesn't it? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they have so many opportunities where the power play can either get them back into a game where they're trailing, or put them, put it away for good in a game where they lead or it's close. And the power play just hasn't been taking advantage of that. It feels like there's not as much puck movement anymore, not as much player movement. They feel kind of uninspired as far as plays that they're trying to set up or go for. It feels like there's no end objective or play that they're trying to set up.
Yeah, so we talked about this one earlier too, the idea of, who's in charge of those, and should maybe they be the ones that are relieved of duty, so to speak, right? Like, I'm trying to remember if I can remember a time where maybe like there was, kind of a sweeping, like getting rid of assistant coaches mid-season. I can't really, nothing comes to mind though for something
It feels
like
like
that.
something that would have happened though. It doesn't. It
Yeah,
doesn't. I feel like I remember it happening, but I can't say specifically when, or at least a specific special teams coach. I think the Golden
right.
Knights they didn't let him go. They moved Steve Spott off of the power play
Yes.
duties last season. And sometimes they'll switch it up. But yeah, the Kraken have consistently had Paul McFarland handling the power play and Jay Leach handling the PK. Maybe you want to get another voice in there. I'd love to, certainly keep both of them on staff, especially Jay Leach, given all the work he's done with the defensemen. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if I don't see this coaching staff doing that though.
I don't either. I really don't. But it is a shame. I mean, you got Dave Lowry there. Like, you got to think in he's standing there on the bench screaming stuff in his head. Maybe like to see him get some of that. Let's see. We are at the hour mark, but I'll try to get in a couple more here for everybody, just because there's a lot in chat. A lot of this Devils fan in here for some reason. Let's love from this Devils fan. Okay. Let's see. This is from Brian. I'd flip the second and fourth lines. Wenberg and Burakovsky could use a wake-up call, and our fourth line deserves more ice time. We just lost 7-2. I don't want to hear about matchup concerns. I agree with the sentiment, and in a lot of ways, I mean, we've always kind of done this, especially, we put out before each game the projected lineup, and it's kind of like lines 1 through 4. Dave Haxtell has always done a good job, though, of just, whichever line's feeling it, they get more ice time. And so functionally, there isn't really a first, second, third, fourth line for the Kraken.
Yeah, and I do like that about Dave Haxtell. He's good about rewarding, who's playing well in a particular game. As far as, Wenberg and Burakovsky, basically that whole line kind of needing a wake-up call. I thought it was interesting. I saw a Money Puck tweeted earlier today. They're like 20 worst lines with over 150 minutes together, and I think they were the 9th worst line on that list. So of them with Schwartz. So, maybe there's something to change there.
I can't imagine after this game that line sticks together. Like, it's not happening.
And they've been juggling Burakovsky and Bjorkstrand, between those two lines anyway. I think they've got to make a change there at some point.
Yeah, and like the only person who doesn't seem to benefit from Haxtell doing this is Morgan Geekie. Let's give Morgan Geekie more time. He's playing well. He's creating turnovers in the neutral zone. Like, he's doing everything you can want. Let's get him more time. Let's see. Most ice time of any Kraken forward by a good bit from Gabe.
Is that for Sprong?
On Becca. No, it was actually Schwartz actually led by a decent amount in this one. And I think he's been playing well, but I'd like to see him get maybe on the scoreboard at some point.
Yes, that would be nice.
get rewarded. Sprong was second, followed by Wenberg.
Okay.
Which is, again, interesting when Wenberg hasn't been generating a ton of offense, at least on the score sheet. But I really think the Matty line also needs a shakeup, because that one is just ice cold. Like, completely. Matty's playing well defensively, but they need to do something with that group as a whole. Let's see. Some talks about that. Susie's had too much benefit of the doubt this season. Lots of people talking he's an upcoming UFA, so makes sense at a trade deadline thing. You don't have to scratch Susie, just don't put him out in key situations like the first and last 3 minutes of a game. I mean,
that's never good when you have three defensemen like that.
I know. At this point, I'm hoping the brutal January schedule is somehow the adversity this team needs, somehow from Striatic. It's possible. I mean, maybe this is the low point. This is rock bottom for them, and they're going to rebound and pick things up. It is possible, like you talked about. They have good leadership in that room. Shoeshine, I believe the last reverse retro game is against Boston, so not a good chance of being a good memory from that game either.
Well, double negative. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, maybe if we could make it a triple
negative tie, you have to go to that one.
We go all in on this one. Let's see what we can do. Let's see. Hard to pay attention to anyone around the net when the puck is on McDavid's stick. I do agree with some stranger said that. Definitely agree there. Earlier on, they were trying to force the Matty one-timer every time, but now it looks so aimless. Yeah, on the power play. I mean, they just anything creative, something. And Vince Dunn, keep the puck in the zone. That would also help the power play.
It would. There were a few times fumbled at the blue line.
That was rough. So Stratic, I'm back thinking the Kraken need a bigger, stronger guy net front. The Oilers really benefit from having Zach Hyman there or Kane when he's healthy. It's not all McDavid and Draisaitl. Agreed. I mean, we talked about this last post game. We've talked about this a little bit. It's the thing I was really excited about Shane Wright doing at the World Juniors right now is kind of how he's managed to be a solid net front performer there for them and what he's been able to open up. I mean, is Shane Wright the answer to that potentially, RJ?
Possibly. I mean, just somebody who's kind of willing to go there and stay there. He has lived at the net for Canada at these World Juniors.
Yeah, it's obvious what they want him to do. Joey, hey, why are we bad all of a sudden? Is this a short-term or long-term problem? Thoughts? Oh, it's been I think we've talked about all of the reasons for that through this whole thing. Killer beeline time, RJ from Duthin. I think
why not?
Why not? My thoughts. Yeah, why not? They're all performing bad. Might as well stick them all together, see if it sticks. All right, RJ. I think we could probably put this one behind us now.
I think so. We've kind of talked through it. We've hit all the different angles. Hopefully everyone's feeling a little bit better.
Yeah. People for the most part, I think it also helped that a lot of it was just early on in the game. So
yeah,
it's hard.
We had time to prepare for this one. I know a lot of the written content media had their stories done by the second period. That's just one of those games.
Yeah, it's hard to stay that level of kind of upset for 2.5 hours. So it does help a little bit. Lots of good nights. Good night, everybody. Rebecca, headed to the Firebirds game tomorrow. Looking forward to that palate cleanser to close out the year. Yeah, Firebirds playing.
Oh, that'll be great.
Hope you enjoy it, Rebecca. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this one. 79 of you in here. That's awesome. Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, that is great. For a game like this.
I know.
So impressive.
Chat's been really awesome tonight. One last time, shout out to Queen Anne Beer Hall. Thanks so much. Make sure, if you head out that way, let them know we sent you. And everybody have a good new year. Be safe.
Yep.
And we'll see you all in 2023. Can't wait to see how bad I'm going to mess up on all of my podcast overlays for that one, RJ. Really looking.
We'll get used to it.
Hopefully. All right, everybody. Thanks. Good night. Have a good weekend.